Your last name, like
Wojcik.
Wojcik. And so both you're in the top 10, you're in the top 15, right? And yeah, I watched you guys compete at Sogi last night. So we all competed at the Submission Only Grappling Invitational, and we got to just train at Vanguard Jiu-Jitsu. And I'm super happy to be here with you guys. And I just kind of want to talk some Jiu-Jitsu with y'all.
Cool.
Yeah.
Hell yeah. So, Chris, give me, Keith, give me like a, top down view of who Keith is.
Well, Keith is he's a jiu-jitsu guy pretty much through and through. Not as well rounded as Chris here. But no, man, I grew up in San Diego. I lived there for pretty much my entire life. Went to college in Southern California, so a little bit away, but not very far. And then now I'm just visiting out here, and then I'm gonna head to the UK soon and spend an indefinite amount of time out there.
Hell yeah.
So yeah.
Do you have a place in mind to train in UK?
Yeah, there's a 10th Planet in London, which is a very good gym, and then there's also London Grapple, which is another very good gym. And there's like a ton of others there, so
Hell yeah.
no shortage of like good training. Should be.
You gonna be able to get on Polaris?
Dude, I hope so. That's like my favorite show. Like that's but we'll see. I'm a little below there. I'm cool, but
No, you'll be able to get there, dude.
I hope so. Thank you, man.
Hell yeah. Chris, what about you, buddy?
So my name's Chris Wojcik. I'm 25. I was actually born in London. So I'm a dual citizen, US and England. And born in London. I moved to the US when I was about 2. That's why I got no British accent. No one thinks I'm British. And then I started doing jiu-jitsu when I was 17. I lived in Oregon for a year, got my blue belt out there, and then I've been in Chicago ever since then. Trained under a guy named Jeff Serafin. Got my purple, brown, and black belt from him. And yeah, been living in Chicago, about to go do some traveling, just like Keith, gonna go travel a little bit, go to Austin for a little bit. We'll see where I go after that. But, I've been kind of traveling a lot to train the last year or so. So I'm gonna do more of that, kind of figure things out from there.
Hell yeah. Hell yeah. And so either one of you can answer this, but what's y'all have any future competitions coming up, something that you're planning for, something you're getting ready for?
Well, I could take this because it's going to be the same for him. We're actually both on a show in the UK in a few weeks called Grapple Fest.
Oh, hell yeah.
So yeah, it'll be fun. He has a match against a guy named Ellis Younger, who's very accomplished. He's like no-gi world champion from out there. And then I'm going to go to the tournament with 3 other guys, Gianni Grippo, Jeremy Skinner, and Sam McNally, who the last 2 were in ADCC this past year. And then Gianni, obviously, no-gi world champion, but he's been in ADCCs for years. So
right.
Yeah, it'll be fun.
Do you know your first matchup is yet?
No, it's just a random draw.
They're doing it the day of.
Day of, yes, yeah. We'll see how that goes.
Nice.
So yeah.
Is it going to be streamed anywhere?
Fight TV.
I was gonna say Flow, but I think it is Fight TV. Yeah.
Oh yeah. I got to get Fight. I've been wanting to get it. I just haven't got it yet, but I'm gonna get it.
Pretty affordable. I think
it's $5 a month.
Yeah. So
I think they just upgraded to $7 a month.
They did. I got an email about that actually. Yeah.
That's not too bad.
Didn't want to dissuade any.
Grapple Fest is a good show though. Is Big Dan is on it this time.
Oh, it's a sick card.
On it.
Yeah, he's going against Sandra Lilius. Big Dan is going against Mark McQueen, who's like a local guy there who's very good.
There's some good guys.
Yeah,
there's some.
Yeah.
Just England in general, I think is kind of underrated.
For sure. Yeah, definitely. It's on the up and coming. Places. Jiu-Jitsu.
The main event of the last one was Owen and Jacob Kout.
Oh yeah, right.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, Owen McLean. Yeah, that dude's
really good. I want to play.
He's good.
I trained with him. Yeah. I went to London Grapple last time I was out there, and trained with Owen. This is right before he did ADCC, and I was like, after I trained with him, I was like, this guy's gonna do really well.
Yeah, same. I did the same thing. Yeah.
Oh yeah.
And he was very good.
Sweet. So you guys are gonna compete in London, and then anything outside of that? Just figuring the London life out?
Well, they just last night they announced me versus Kenta Iwamoto. He's he was in ADCC this past year. He won against JT Torres first round.
Yeah, dude, the monster.
And he just lost a really narrow ref's decision. And he even had a match with William Tackett recently, where he also lost really close. It was like 8-6. So they had like I just saw, I haven't watched the whole match, but I saw like a clip. He like had Tacken in a little bit of trouble, it looked like. So that'll be a good match. I think that's like May, so like about a month after Grapple Fest. So I'll probably be back out here then, and yeah, it should be sick. But that's kind of all I have lined right now, and I think Chris has like quite a few comps coming up.
So I got Grapple Fest, and then I got I'm doing one in Chicago. It's like a no gi absolute. It's called the Don't Tap Championship. It's I don't know. They reached out to me a few weeks ago, and it's a 8-man absolute bracket for I don't remember how much money it was for, but it's like same rules as Grapple Fest, which is nice. So it makes the training easy.
Hell yeah!
And then I might have a super fight at the end of the month, but it's not confirmed yet, so I won't say anything about that.
Gotcha.
But, yeah.
Well, dude, Kenta Yomoto's freaking jacked.
Yes, he is quite jacked. Yes, they call him. My friend called him recently. They're like, oh, you're going against the Lego Man. I was like, you know what? He totally does look like. But it's funny. It's crazy because we were 66 in 2019. I mean, we were both in the same division, 66, 2019. He was like pretty skinny, like long hair, you know, like guard puller. Like I think he lost off a guard pull or something. Like totally different than he is now. Now he's like big, jacked wrestler. You rarely see him pull guard. He's just like looks totally different, and his style looks like completely different. So pretty interesting. And he's 77. Yeah, so like he even went up a whole weight. Super impressive. I'm like excited just to I don't know, like these kind of like fun, like it's not really a match that necessarily means anything. We're in different weight classes and live in different continents. But it's like just like one of those cool things that I think like should kind of elevate, my game a little bit, just in the fact that, I have to prepare for a guy like that and figure out, how to combat his style and, size and stuff like that. So it's exciting, man. It's super, it's exciting.
Hell yeah, dude. Well, it's funny, because I was like doing some studying to figure out what to ask you guys, and then it says on your Instagram page, divorce lawyer, and I was like, damn, that'd be a whole thing to talk about.
Don't ask about that because you get too long to get into. Just that was like the funniest header option. But yeah,
hilarious, dude. So what are your goals in jiu-jitsu, man? What are you trying to accomplish? You're just trying to be the best in the world? You're trying to just make a living off of it?
And then up to you, yeah.
I'm trying to do this as well as I can for as long as I can. So originally when I started, the plan was never to try to make a job out of it, but that just sort of kind of came as like you're trying to do it. You're trying to do it as well as you can for as long as you can, and to do it well, you need to do it more, and to do it more, you need to kind of stop doing other things. And the best way to stop doing other things is to like make it a job,
right?
So that's like kind of how I went because I do a lot of teaching now. Like I was teaching at a gym for about a year and a half. I just stopped doing that about like 3 weeks ago, and now I'm just kind of doing training and seminars and my own thing. So that's kind of the goal is just to kind of be able to kind of do that for as long as I can, and then long term, I don't like the thing. You don't want to think too long term, right? You want to think that's part of being an athlete is you got to think kind of what's in front of you,
right?
So really, just focus on like the next few months, but as well as I can for as long as I can. That's kind of the main goal.
Yeah, I mean, you're kind of using your writing to kind of.
Yeah, so that started because I finished college and I was 22 and I didn't like study writing or anything, but I was like, I want to, if I can do this, I don't have to go to an office, so I can go to the gym during the day and at night. And so I started doing that, and it kind of something that you kind of build a little bit, and you start to get like a little bit of a following, and then you get some gigs, and and you can always work on your own schedule. So it's like, we'll do this, and then I got to finish something when we get back to B&B later, and that's my work for the day. So it's I get paid and do kind of some like that. It's not like, I don't have to go in, I don't have to work for anybody. I can make my own schedule. I can go and do that from anywhere in the world. So it's kind of like, that was kind of what I was doing. And then, maybe when I'm done competing, when I'm done, training full time, then it'll be something I can do full time.
Oh yeah. I was talking to Chris Shigoli, and one of the things that he had brought up was how you have to make something your own. You know, you can't just rely on people paying memberships or just privates to make money in jiu-jitsu, that you essentially have to figure out another way to monetize so that you can keep this going long term. That's exactly what you just did.
Yeah, it's kind of the plan, is something that, you know, is more than just like showing up. You know, something that kind of lasts long. That's the goal for it. But I don't even know what that looks like yet. Right now, I just do kind of my newsletter, and I write on Medium, which is like website, and that's pretty much all I do. And I have some guys, I do ghostwriting, so like I pretend to be somebody else. That's kind of what it is. So, and that pays really well. So I do that, and I do that with my other writing, and that gives me, you know, it gives you a lot of freedom, which is nice.
Hell yeah, that's pretty cool, dude.
Yeah.
And then Keith, so you have a Patreon, right?
Yeah, I have a Patreon. That's kind of my main like passive income, you know. And then the rest of it is like teaching seminars, competitions. I have some sponsors that support me, you know, and stuff like that. And I like it's funny because I did in college, I kind of studied the same thing that Chris studied, and I had never met anyone in jiu-jitsu who like also was a journalism major. And when I met him like about a year ago, a little over a year ago, I was like super impressed that he was like actually like doing it, because like I always thought, like I was like, fuck, you know, it'd be like too much of a time commitment, you know, like if you want to like get good at jiu-jitsu. But he's made it work, and like it's like he's like I just like see him become super popular on like all the like just various like writing platforms and Twitter and stuff like that, and like it's super sick. It's like cool to see that it's possible, and you know, like he works fucking crazy hard at it. So like, you know, I feel like it's all deserved, and you know, like it's cool to see. So yeah, but I don't have the same work ethic as far as trying to make the writing thing work. So I just kind of went right after college straight into I was like working normal jobs for a little bit, and then recently I've kind of started to like do the full-time jiu-jitsu thing.
Yeah. Well, I mean, dude, it's working for you.
Thanks.
You had like one of the best stories at ADC at the trials, right? So you got second place twice.
3 times.
3 times.
Yeah.
And then you come back and win it all.
Yeah.
Dude,
Thanks, dude. Yeah.
that was dope.
Thank you.
I was watching all the matches, and just, again, the story behind it was just like
Thanks, man.
super cool.
I remember you did it. Yeah, you did a sweet breakdown of all my matches. That was cool.
Yeah, I'm actually gonna go back and redo them as shorts.
Oh, sick.
I did it. I did yours as a like long form. Yeah, I'm gonna go back and redo them as like shorts. Because your stuff's really good, dude. I mean, that win you got over.
The one people bring up to me the most is Robert D.
That's
that's the one I thought that's on here.
It's like leg locker versus leg locker.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah,
and then you leg locked him.
Yeah.
A lot of people thought he wasn't leg lockable, but
yeah, for sure. He's very solid legs. Yeah, man. Thank you, appreciate it.
And you used, so you went to like pretty much hard pass into the leg.
Yeah,
you went to throw his knee by, and then he like forced it out, and you just drop back on it.
Yeah, kind of like a leg drag setup.
Was that the one that the when you did the seminar?
Yeah, I taught it at
we brought him out over the summer, and after he came out, we were drilling that leg entry for like 3 months. Like, we got one of our guys who competed on the Sogi yesterday, who's a Masters purple belt. That's his favorite move.
Yeah, he was asking about it today. Yeah, I started drilling that with PJ Barch. I want to say like 6 or 7 years ago, and he was using so like we should be careful. Plus the Rouse gym, he actually hit that on Rao back in the day, and that's when I was like, oh, this is super legit. And he hits it on me all the time. I've added that to my game, and it's just kind of been like one of those moves you don't have to think about. You know, you just kind of like hitting instinctively. You know.
Hell yeah.
So yeah, it's fun. Yeah.
And dude, my favorite story to tell about you is I think it was the first round of the trials. Everyone's like crowded around, and all the cameras are pointed at Cody Steele. And no hate on Cody Steele, dude's a monster. Yeah. But he's like, gold chain, got all the swagger, and it's just like, oh shit, the show's about to start.
Yeah.
Dude, you just point for point was just like, and it's no points were scored, right? You got the rest decision.
Yeah.
But dude, you just played a technical, smart battle, and Cody just didn't have an answer. He was just kind of like, you could tell he was frustrated, and he couldn't really pull the trigger on what he wanted to because you're just shutting him down from guard, right? You're essentially just pawing at his head.
Well,
fighting grips.
I kind of tricked him a little bit because I pulled guard right away. Because I was like looking at the cameras, I was like, I'm not getting suplex.
Yeah.
You know, and then it went to overtime, and I was talking. Well, it was funny. Like before the match, I was texting my coach Jeff, who was back home, and he was like, I was like, I got Cody second, and he's like, that's the match we wanted. I'm like, yeah, okay, that's the match we wanted. It's not the match I wanted, but then, you know, then we go at pull guard, nothing really happens in the regulation, and then I think thought that I was like a little butt scooter who couldn't wrestle, and I'm not a great wrestler, but I wrestled in high school. I'm like solid, and I got it on his leg right away. I mean, takedown, and that kind of set the pace for the OT, which was. That was kind of, I think, what gave me the win.
Hell yeah. Well, dude, hold on. I'm losing what I was thinking of.
Yeah, you had a really good run. Like beyond that, like I think like Cody was like pretty bummed because he'd never heard of you or anything, but like anyone who had heard of you was like not really too surprised. Like even if I hadn't met you like a few months before, I would have known you were the guy that won Purple Belt Noogie Worlds, you know, and. But obviously training with you and like me, I like
we met like a few months before trials.
Yeah. And then, but like, dude, you just had like such a good run after that. Like, like Max, you wing as Max, Kieran. You had a really good match with Taka. I think you and some other guys that day too, but you had a really good run.
Yeah, and then there was one guy, the guy who I had after Cody was really tough.
Yeah.
He was I don't remember his name, but he was a black belt from like East Coast somewhere, like around here. Yeah. I body lock past him. Yeah, and then that was pretty much all that.
Yeah,
he was tough.
Yeah.
And then I had the second day I had a guy. No, I had a guy. Gary Coleman guy. Okay. And then
was it Albert?
Yeah,
he's good too.
Yeah, and then I had Max, and then Kieran.
Yeah,
that's it.
Yeah, it's crazy.
Yeah,
so fun.
That was like the matches just kept getting hard.
Yeah.
And then after I lost Attack, and then I had a PJ.
Yeah, it was so weird the way that they set up those third place matches. They had like shut down the middle mat, or not shut it down, but like they had like set it up for the semis, all sick.
Yeah.
And then they just like put the third place matches on some tiny mats on the side.
Yeah.
And like no one even really got to see them. It was super weird, but yeah, it was a bummer because that's a big match, like you and PJ, you know?
Yeah.
Anyways, yeah.
PJ and I have had a few good matches.
Yeah.
Last year.
It's submission only series they have match as well. Like you had a really good run that day also.
Yeah, PJ heel hooked me with like 5 seconds left.
Dang.
It was devastating.
Shit.
Yeah, it happens.
But dude, I had one of my buddies went to the East Coast trials, and I knew him from going to high rollers, and he won a blue belt bracket. I don't know how this dude's a blue belt, but anyway, he went to the East Coast trials, and he beat Nick Ronan in the first round.
Oh,
second round.
I've heard of this guy. Yeah,
and then he went the next round against Cody.
Oh yeah,
and he got suplexed like 3 times.
Oh, is that guy?
Yeah,
I've seen that video.
Yeah, and it's like it was so funny because he made a bunch of memes about how like no one cared he beat Nick, but everyone's showing the highlight reels of Cody.
I didn't see his match with Nick. Do you know how that went?
Yeah, I mean he out wrestled him.
Oh, okay, interesting.
Yeah, the dude's a really good wrestler. So, he's like one of those blue belts that's got good wrestling pedigree.
Yeah, gotcha.
Yeah. So it's just super funny, man. It's like you get a good win and you're like, I'm on a roll, and then you just get suplexed. Put on a highlight reel.
That's how it goes, dude. Yeah. For sure.
Especially like nowadays with Instagram, it's like you're either making a highlight reel or you are somebody's highlight reel.
Yeah, right. That's so funny. That's funny. Well, guys, so let's say we have a white belt or a blue belt who's like interested in competing. What would you guys have like advice for them, like who maybe they have aspirations to compete or maybe make a career out of competing? What would you guys tell them? Maybe like something that you would have told yourself back in the day when you started.
I think like big thing for a beginner is it's a volume game. So like when you're first starting, like, you know, I think one advantage that like me and I think Keith too, an advantage that we have is we both wrestle. And when you wrestle, you have to do like, you can't wrestle and not compete. That's not how wrestling works.
Yeah.
You know, you can't. So everybody's competing all the time. So like, you know, one advantage that gives you when you switch to jiu-jitsu is like, you just think about it as you're competing. I mean, when you compete often because that's how you get better. And I think a lot of people, beginners, they'll like set a tournament down for when they want to do, and they'll do it, and then they'll go and they'll take, you know, a bunch of time before they do another one. And if you want to do something like competing in jiu-jitsu well, you have to do it often.
Yeah.
You know, like every month, every few weeks, and that's kind of just how you learn how to do it well, because it's different than training.
100%.
On that same note, I would probably say, like, nowadays there's so many pro shows or whatever, just like super fight shows, let's say. And like, I think a lot of people chase like the super fight concept, or like the idea of like just getting, you know, a super fight. And I think there's like a few problems with that. Like, one is, if you're just chasing single matches, you're obviously not going to get the same amount of mat time that you will at, you know, a tournament or, you know, anything else. Two, like the main objective, I think, at like a super fight is just to win. I don't think it's necessarily to like, because that's your only shot. Like, you know, you're not going out there to like just try things and, you know, if you lose, you get another match, you know, in the wrestlebacks or whatever. You're like specifically just trying to win. And then I think I think the like low pressure kind of like aspect of tournaments really helps your build your confidence, because like there's so many mats going on at one time. You feel like you could kind of like go a little bit under the radar, try some things. You're not worried about like people that bought tickets to come watch you. You know, you're not worried about you know, I mean, sometimes your coach is going to be coaching another mat. You're not even worried about like, you know, like you know, having anyone there to kind of like, you know, yell instructions at you, you know. And I think that's kind of lost on a lot of like, you know, lower belts, or even just like up and coming purple brown black belts even now, you know. That like I don't know if that's the best idea for like long-term development, you know. I think like Chris said, you know, you just have to get used to competing often. And
I think one thing that I'd add is so like you gotta also too kind of be very resilient, you know, when you're competing. Like you know, I lost an OT last night and sucked, and I was very kind of bummed about it. But it's like also too, there's not really a whole lot of time for me to wallow, you know. So I got to compete again in 3 weeks. I got to compete again 2 weeks after that, maybe again 2 weeks after that. So it's like there's not a whole lot of time to be bummed, you know. And I think that people will. I see this more often than I thought I think I should see it. But people will like compete, they'll lose, and they'll get kind of bummed out, and they won't want to do it again. And like I always tell people, like when I was in 8th grade when I started wrestling, my second year I had 4 wins and 28 losses.
Damn.
So it's like, you know, I was not like a natural wrestler. I was terrible. And over time, you know, then it was 1 year I was like 500. And then you sort of work your way up to being, you know, really, you know, winning, or just competing at a high level, you know, being able to beat good guys. But no one starts off like, you know, unless you're maybe more talented than I am, but I did not start off like winning and doing really well. I had like a period at the beginning where I was just getting my ass beat. And if you can get through that, then you will, you know, then you have a chance of really doing well. You know,
100%. You used to wrestle too?
Yeah, in high school. Yeah, very similar to Chris. Like, I was not like, I wouldn't say I was like the worst, but I definitely was not the best when I started. I didn't even wrestle my freshman year. I was like too nervous, and competition scared me, you know. And just being like bad at something scared me, you know. And then I wrestled my second year. I was okay. I didn't do great or anything, you know, probably similar to Chris. And then third year, it was like a little better, but like, you know, nothing crazy. And then my senior year, I like turned a corner. I was like pretty successful. I went on like a few pretty good win streaks. I like did really well at like some of the end of season tournaments. Like I don't know how it works for like your guys' states, but we have like league, city, CIF, masters, and then state, and I was doing pretty well. And then I was like considering doing like wrestling in college, but the upside was a little like just it didn't seem like there was much other than just like saying that you got good at wrestling, that you did it, and that you got good, and like being able to like have that skill. But beyond that, I think like there's more of a future in jiu-jitsu, I noticed. So like when I went to college, I just kind of focused on. That wasn't like my intention when I went into college. I assumed I was just going to get a normal job and stuff, and then keep training jiu-jitsu long term. But then I started to like train more and noticed there was like opportunities for pro grappling. Like it was starting to be a big thing. I graduated high school in 2016. I was around the time of like DDS. That was the same year, either 2015 or 2016, when Gordon won EBI, and then he was like winning other things, and he was like making money, and Gary too. Even Boogie, Gio, PJ were like my like 3 biggest role models coming up, and they were like, that's what they were doing. They were traveling to compete. They were competing often. They were teaching seminars. They were, winning whatever, and they were making money doing that. And I saw that, and I just followed this same kind of path. I was just thinking.
You might have started jiu-jitsu like a few years before me, but like I don't know about you, but like when I started, it was no money.
No, yeah.
It was like for a competitor, the only professional jiu-jitsu event that I knew of was Metamoris, and they were like known for not paying people.
Yeah.
So it's like
even the events you made money, you wouldn't make money.
Yeah, and it's like pretty like around like when EBI started becoming popular, that was like when things started changing, and then like even like it's not super big now, but like Fight to Win for a while was like a big thing.
Used to pay everyone.
They used to pay everybody. And then there was like more sub only events. The group paying started popping up, and then over the like all of a sudden it was like from out for me, because I was doing the gi my whole career until like about 2 and a half, 2 years ago was when we cut the gi. But like before that, it was like just doing like gi tournament, IBJJF, not making any money doing that, and then all of a sudden, like kind of as we started switching over doing the gi, then it was like, oh, you want to do this tournament? Winner gets $5,000, whatever, and then just more opportunities like that started popping up, and now it's like all of a sudden it's like a real, starting to become a real sport, which is cool.
Hell yeah. Well, dude, I'm listening to what you are saying, and that just loses what I was gonna ask.
Yeah, he says stuff, and I'm like, oh, I want to like comment, and then he says more stuff. I'm like, oh, I like that too.
Yeah.
And I forgot what I was gonna say about the other thing, but yeah.
Competing in jiu-jitsu, I think.
Man, yeah, I remember the first cash tournament that I did. That was big. It was $2,000 at the time. It was finishers, and I was in college, and I like never flown anywhere. I don't think I'd ever flown like gone on a plane before, maybe like when I was younger, But then I like wanted to do this tournament. I flew out all the way like over here. Did the tournament. It was like the first match of the day. They had like it was like an 8-hour event. I was the first match. It was my first ever like big thing, and I like slap bump, try to jump over the guy's guard. He knee bars me in like 8 seconds, maybe less, and then I had to fly back home and just reevaluate. Like,
That's
okay,
the worst.
Yep, I was like, okay, so too big of a jump right off the bat, and then I started, and then from there I decided, all right, back to Nagas. Back to smaller shows, like any local event I would do. If it was within 2 states, I would drive, and then the first like medium, like big but medium like pro show that I did was called Sub Spectrum. It was in Iowa, and I flew out there. It was the first ever event. I think I won like $400. I think it cost me like more to like get out there and to like get like a hotel and Ubers and stuff. But I made money, and I thought like I was like, okay, like if I keep going on this path, someday I'll be the Gordon Ryan equivalent. Like I will like, if I can do this only over a long period of time on a larger scale, eventually I'll get to EBI where you're winning $50,000 or whatever. And hasn't exactly worked out like that, but the I think like my mindset was right. Like it was like start kind of slow-ish, just do as many matches and like gradually work your way up. And like that seemed to really work for me kind of long term. I think within a few years, like since from that first finishers match all the way till maybe like my first like medaling in the first trials, like I had probably 200 or so matches, you know, and that was about a year and a half period. Yeah. And yeah, that helped me a lot.
Hell yeah. Well, dude, I was watching you on PGF.
PGF. What was it?
There was something I was watching you on. They were saying you had like some crazy record at purple belt, like undefeated with like 100 something wins.
I did. It wasn't 100. I was undefeated in like 70 or 80 matches straight. The like caveat is like a lot of those were like EBI matches, and like I would just do like any weight class. I would just go like, you know, I think I was between 45 and I would compete between 45 and 70, or like even absolutes, whatever. And a lot of them were like guys would smash me, and like I wouldn't have like won the match necessarily, but then I would win an EBI every time. I was very good at the lower belts at that. And over time it just accumulated, but like a really long winning streak where like a lot of them were like pretty, you know, good ones or whatever. And then like most of them were just like I was just like super tough, wanted it really bad, and just like wouldn't give up, like, you know, wouldn't accept losing. And that led to like a really long win streak. And then I think it ended at the finals of the ADCC trials. I lost to Ethan Cronston. But yeah, between then it was like, wow. Yeah, it was like, I think it was like 70 or 80 wins in a row.
Yeah, it was some crazy number. I
Yeah.
remember seeing it. I was like, who the hell wins that many in a row? I was like,
Yeah.
who is this kid?
I think I just competed like I said, like at least twice a month, I think is what it was. But yeah, sometimes like twice a weekend, you know, like it was good for my development, you know. I think I don't know if I'd do that again, that many matches in a year again, but like because now it's like about, I think the long game, you're kind of preserving, you know, your body a little bit more.
But I feel like every like grappler I know who is like competing at a high level in jiu-jitsu is like they had a period at some point where they were just competing like twice a weekend, every weekend.
Yep.
You know,
Right. Yeah. For sure.
whatever.
It's like what I remember seeing the DDS guys do that a lot. Like they would just go all over, compete like everything. Like Gordon, Eddie Cummings, Gary would just do like, you know, they would do like Zapatero. I remember they would do Grappler's Quest, I think it was. They would do, I forget all the shows now, but like everything, you know. And they would just they would travel around, win a lot more than they lost, you know. And I think it just led to like competition was like breathing to them, you know. And I think that's what you want to get to if you're
Well, like when I was wrestling, we used to do like in the off season, we'd go up to Michigan, you know, Chicago, like Michigan's like, it was like 4 hours. We'd do a tournament. It would be a duel tournament on Friday, and you'd have like 8 duels. And then Saturday, after doing 8 duels, then you'd have an individual tournament the next day. So it's like as many as you could do.
Yeah.
It's like you get like 15 matches in a weekend. You know?
Yeah. We used to have some in San Diego that like you would go and they would have freestyle, Greco, and folk style. You'd sign, you know, you'd pay, it was like $5 to enter, then you'd pay like $3 for every extra division, which would be Greco and freestyle. And they capped you like 5 matches, I think, sometimes, or at least regulation. But so you would get 15 matches like in a day, all different styles.
Yeah.
I remember like I would you know, go have a folk style match, win, lose, whatever. I would go like minutes later have a Greco match, get tossed almost every single time. Minutes later, I would have a freestyle match and they get leg laced, you know, and like. But I think it was just like getting comfortable with the competition, you know.
And then when you start doing jiu-jitsu, then it's like, okay, and then do gi, do no gi, do absolute for both.
Do sub only, do points,
whatever,
do, you know, ref's decision stuff, you know, whatever it is. Yeah, do those weird hybrid rule sets, you know.
So do all the roll sets except gi.
For me,
I did the gi though for a while.
He was more into the gi. He was.
I don't know, like for a while I was telling myself that it helped me give me a good base, but like this, you know, he's got a great base. He never did gi, so it's like.
I bet it did though. I bet like, and also you get really good matches with guys who don't train no gi, you know. So
yeah, there are some, you know, great guys who only do the gi.
Yeah. Tynan's, and he just posted a picture the other day. Tynan was on his bracket.
Yeah,
or on
the
podium.
Pans podium when I was a blue belt. My knee blew out the semifinals. I lost to a kid, and I was one match. I wanted to fight Tynan so bad, and now I don't want to fight him with what?
Yeah. But it's just funny because, like, Tynan's never gonna hop. I mean, not never, but he's not like hopping in no-gi often. You're not gonna get that match unless you go, do something like even Dante. I was talking to him last night. He just saw that Cyborg and signed up for a local tournament, and he just signed up and showed up. And competed in Cyborg.
So one thing I noticed a couple of years ago, because we trained with Dante a lot over the years, and I met Dante in 2019 after I won Worlds, and he there was a period where he after ADCC he won Nogi Worlds, and then he took kind of a break, and he lost to Roberto, I think.
He lost to Roberto. He beat Cody. He lost to Take. He beat
he was
Thor.
he was kind of not compared to what he's doing now.
Yeah,
and he's also what he's doing now is he's competing at fucking everything. He went to he's the only black belt world champion you'll see fly to the Tampa Open.
Yeah, exactly.
And then he'll do the Tampa Open. Then he'll do Grapple Fest. Then he'll sign up for the Arnolds and go against Cyborg. He'll just go against whoever. And I think that kind of goes to show you want to do this at a high level, you gotta do this at a high level.
For sure.
Hell yeah.
Yeah, Dante is the model of consistency and effort and determination over a long period of time. He like you said, he's been up and down, but when he is focused and when he's on which he most of the time always is, just eventually he was going to accomplish the things that the guys who are kind of inconsistent and not as willing to stick through these things, they won't accomplish.
What I learned training with Dante, he was the first guy who I met in jiu-jitsu who was training like a professional athlete.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh.
yeah, big difference. Yeah, a huge difference.
And that I feel like that taught me a lot about being disciplined with not just training, but strength and conditioning, nutrition, all the little things that I think, are really important and they add up.
Yeah.
And you got to do those things if you want to, do this for a long time.
Yeah. It's they say, technique conquers all. Mat time is all that you need if you just have enough of it. But it's we were talking earlier about my experience going against Wes from 10th Planet. It's if the person is at a higher level than you at strength and conditioning, doesn't matter if your technique's the same or even if it's anywhere close, their strength and conditioning will put you in a spot where you don't even get to use your technique.
Yeah,
so
that's true.
The only way you can experience that is by going against guys who are dialed in like Don Hill.
Well, the other thing with that is durability. If your nutrition sucks and your strength conditioning sucks, and your recovery sucks.
Yeah.
Your body's gonna, and I know this from experience, your body just will break down if you're if you slack with that stuff.
Yep. I know firsthand too.
Yeah.
Dude, one time I competed and I went to a draw with one of the New Wave guys.
Oh.
And dude, I just went out and I ate, and then I met up with a buddy, and then I was me and my girl were still hungry, so we ate fast food.
Yeah.
And I think I specifically remember not drinking any water too. I was just eating food, drinking a Diet Coke, and I tried to jump in at the 10th Planet Austin Open mat, and dude, I just pulled my bicep just wrestling up on somebody, and dude, I was just you dummy, you gotta, it's all it takes is, not drinking water, eating fast food, and then your body's all messed up, and then you try to just not warm up and start rolling with people at 10th Planet. It just gets brutal. So it reminded me is dude, you need to have water on you at all times. You need to make sure that if you do eat fast food, you need to pound in water, and then obviously to not pig out every single chance that you get.
Yeah, for sure.
And you can, there was some, I heard Danaher say one time that diet, nutrition is really important, but what's more important, I think, is just getting enough calories in. I think a lot of athletes undereat, and it's really important to just kind of eat around your training. Like if you're gonna eat fast food, don't eat it like before you go train. Don't eat it before you're gonna compete. You know, maybe like afterwards or whatever, and then like, you know, kind of just dial your habits around like the training and competition. And I think that kind of separates a lot of like the hobbyist level guys from the professional guys. So, like the professionals, that is like unconscious for them, you know?
Right. Maybe not eat fast food the night before a 12-round open mat.
Not usually the best idea.
Well, guys, so I'll wrap it up. I don't want to take too much of y'all's time. I'll ask y'all one more question. So let's say I got a lot of fans that aren't in jiu-jitsu. They're fans of jiu-jitsu. They like seeing us mess each other up. What would you give advice to someone who's like trying to take their life to the next level? Because in my eyes, you guys are both have accomplished the dream, which is, doing what you love to do as a full-time job, right? So, whether it's obviously we're all struggling to make the money that we want, but we're all on the way there, right? With your Patreon. Don't you also accept subscribers on Instagram?
No, haven't done that yet.
Maybe you should.
I should. That's a good idea. Yeah. But
But
yeah.
your Patreon's kicking well, and then you got your blogging. So, I mean, you guys have essentially, it's not just competing, but you're also like trying to branch out in other ways so that you can make this sustainable. And I feel like that most people would see that as a success. So let's say if you're talking to someone who maybe isn't trained jiu-jitsu or maybe wants to, or is like trying to figure out like, how can I be successful in life? What would you tell them?
Go first.
Oh God, that's a tough one. You go first, please.
I would say you have to like start out by taking like a small step towards something that's scary. So like for me, I started writing on the internet in 2020 because it was just during the pandemic and it was like there was nothing else I could do. I tried getting a job, but I couldn't get jobs because the job market in 2020 was not
bad.
it was pretty bad. And it was like I was very like anxious to like write, because it's like kind of a vulnerable thing, and especially coming from like kind of like a tough guy martial arts world, I was like nervous about that. But the like, and there have been moments where it's like very anxiety inducing, but it's like the positives outweigh the negatives so much. And so I think if you just take like a small step towards something that's like like put yourself out of your comfort zone, maybe not too much, but like just a little bit, then you'll feel more comfortable to take the next step. And then you can take the next step. And then before you know it, you're like, doing what you love full time or whatever,
Hell yeah.
Just like step by step.
Yeah, man. What you're saying is like the obstacle is the way.
Yeah. I like Ryan Holiday.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Hell yeah.
We were talking about him earlier.
Yeah, that's
actually.
funny. I was gonna say. Yeah, I mean, man, I like could be kind of the same thing he said and almost like said in a different way, but like try to pursue what makes you happy more than the thing you think will make other people happy or the thing that, maybe you think society would, deem as, whatever. But I mean, if that means, doing something that makes you a lot of money and maybe, maybe you gain pleasure from that, like that's great. But if it's something like jiu-jitsu and maybe you are doing something that doesn't make you as happy, then like try to just try to take a leap at something like, like what you do, like you do this I assume, not because it's the most lucrative thing you could do, but because you really enjoy doing it and you're very good at it. And like people over time will recognize that. And, I think like long term and you'll kind of like, I think you'll gain just a little bit more pleasure from that than you will, even if you're not as like seeing as much like just like gain or whatever, from that. I think like over time will make you happier knowing that you kind of made that choice and not then sell out on something that wouldn't have made you as happy.
100%.
Yeah.
With what you were saying, I think The Rock had a really put out, and he was saying, one day or day one. He's like, you can have it in your head, one day I'll do this, or one day I'll have that. And he's like, or you just switch the words around and said, day one, I'm doing this.
And the beginning's the hardest part. It's like being a first day white belt. Like that's hard.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'd much rather be where I'm at now than be a first day white belt again.
Right.
But you had to start something.
Yeah, but you have to in everything you do, whether it's jiu-jitsu, whether it's writing, whether it's, do anything. Sure. You gotta be a beginner.
Yeah, sure. And then what you're saying, you're talking about how you should do what you want to do and not trying to make society happy.
Yeah.
And that can be hard to figure out. It's like
Definitely.
you don't even know that you're being brainwashed by society, right?
Yeah.
And so I was listening to this one guy on another podcast that I was editing, and he was saying that what he does, he goes to the schools and he talks to the students there, the seniors, and he's like, okay, if I took care of all of your financial needs. You had a house, you had a car, all your bills were paid. What would you do? And then he said like a lot of the times what they picked was something different than what they were going to college for.
Oh, wow.
And he was saying that like, you know, don't pick something because you feel like you have to make a certain amount of money to make your parents happy or to pay for something. It's like commit to going to something that you would enjoy doing because the only time you have to do that will be now. It's like take a couple years to just, you know, see if it's for you before you're like, oh, well, you know, my mom says I need to make this much. And I remember my mom was like convincing me to be like get into like laser tech or something like that.
Oh, wow.
I was like, you know,
oh my God. You know what? Here's a good career at lasers.
That's
the most long answer I've ever heard.
You know, it was like, she was not happy that I was going to join the Marine Corps. She was like, but you go to college for these things. And I was just like, nothing about school makes me excited, you know? So, but both of what you guys are saying makes a lot of sense, you know, and you guys are speaking from experience and you guys are both pretty young, right? Like
you're the same age.
25.
Both 25. Yeah. See, I'm 31 and it's like, it seems like you guys are, you know, further along the path than I am and I'm much older. So it's like, it seems like you guys have already learned something that takes most people a long time to learn. So it's like, you know, not only are you guys just saying this just because you heard it somewhere, but you're saying it because you experienced it. And that's, you know, if like you're 18 or you're 21 or something, it's like, dude, take it from you guys and do it now. Don't wait till you're, you know, my age, 29. I did the same thing you guys did where I was like stressing out my head. I was just like, the positives outweigh the negatives of starting my podcast. And I started a podcast like 8 times.
Oh, really?
8 times I started one with like different people. And I kept thinking, I just had it in my head that I had to do a podcast with someone else. I was like, I'm not good enough to like speak, right? You know, or I can't, there's no way I could hold a conversation with myself. And so I would always rely on other people. And because those people could never show up, it was, you know, it was like, oh, I just can't find the right person. And then like, finally it just clicked in my head. It's like, you can't rely on anybody, dude. You got to do it yourself because that's the only way you'll be able to consistently do it long enough for anyone to care. And then, you know, that's what started the breakdowns. Like before I was doing like random podcasts about like jiu-jitsu and like other, you know, like my first one was called Skills. And I just wanted to like combine like what people do outside of jiu-jitsu and then they also do jiu-jitsu and like how the skill sets compare.
That's like a cool idea though, like
Cool idea.
because a lot of people in jiu-jitsu also have some other like weird talent.
100%, dude. It's mind-blowing. That's why I was like tripping me out when your Instagram said you're a lawyer. I was like, I get so much good stuff out of this.
Oh yes. Oh yes. No, I'm
gonna start a rumor that you're a lawyer.
Let's keep that going.
Dude, I'm gonna make a post on me. Like, if you have any,
With
if you have any
renowned divorce attorney.
Well, I appreciate you guys coming on the podcast for me. You guys are awesome. I'm excited to watch you guys compete for the next couple of cards. And I'll see you guys at ADCC, right?
Yes, right. Absolutely.
Well, yeah. Well, thank you guys.
Thank you for having us.
That's nice.